All right, team, welcome back to TNT Digital Mindset. Today, I'm really excited to dive into some cutting-edge stuff. I've been poring over the latest research on digital trends, and honestly, it's fascinating. I've even leveraged some advanced AI, yeah, you heard that right, to break down the core insights. This way, we can get straight to the actionable strategy. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Welcome back to TNT Digital Mindset. We've analyzed the latest data on the coming AI tax to help you sharpen your strategic thinking.
So picture this, it's 2026 and something new is showing up in your life. But you're not going to see it on a bill and nobody's going to announce it on the news. No, you'll just feel it, kind of like the humidity right before a big storm. Suddenly everything just feels a little bit heavier, a little bit slower, and definitely a bit more expensive. That friction, that constant nagging background cost that you never signed up for, that is what we're talking about today.
And let's be super clear here. This is not some kind of abstract metaphor. This is a real, tangible economic pattern. Think about it. When electricity came along, it created a hidden tax of wiring and maintenance. When the internet arrived, it brought a new tax of cybersecurity. Well, AI is doing the exact same thing. It's the total compounding cost of embedding intelligence into our economy. And guess what? It all gets pushed down until it lands squarely on you.
So to really get our heads around this thing, we have to deconstruct it. This tax isn't just one single item. It's actually a stack of 4 distinct compounding costs, each one building on the last.
It all starts at the very bottom, at the physical level, with energy and compute. From there, it moves up to labor, the skills that we all need just to stay competitive. Then you've got the government getting involved with compliance costs. And finally, the last and maybe most crucial layer is a deficit in the one thing that makes our entire economy work: plain old trust. Let's dig into that first layer.
Okay, this is where it gets really real. AI runs on an absolutely insane amount of electricity. Every single AI feature you use, every query, every suggestion, it's all spinning an invisible energy meter somewhere. And when a company bakes that into their app, what they're really doing is adding a recurring energy bill for every single user. That cost has to go somewhere, right? So it gets passed to you, bundled into subscriptions, making those free tiers a lot less useful and nudging everyone toward the paid plans.
Now let's look at how this tax slams into the labor market. Those basic skills, writing a solid email, making a decent slide deck, they're being completely commoditized by AI. They're just not enough to stand out anymore. So the new price of admission, that adaptation tax you now have to pay, is in those uniquely human skills: real judgment, good taste, and taking full, unshakable ownership of the final result. And then, of course, there's the layer that governments are building: compliance. Look, regulations like the EU's AI Act, even when they have good intentions, create massive operational friction. All that required paperwork, the auditing, the risk management, it all adds up to a serious cost. And where does that cost go? You guessed it, it's baked right into the product price. And it also raises the barrier to entry, which means the big companies with deep pockets, well, they get an even bigger head start.
And this brings us to the final, and maybe the most personal and insidious layer of them all, the trust tax. In a world that's just flooded with cheap fakes, real, genuine trust becomes an incredibly expensive premium product. Verification is no longer a given. You're going to find yourself constantly being asked to prove you're human, adding friction to literally everything you do, all in service of fighting an endless war against automated fraud.
Okay, so we've seen the 4 layers in theory, but what does this actually feel like day to day? Let's walk through a few scenarios that you are absolutely going to encounter if you haven't already.
So you call your insurance company. The AI is fantastic, fast, competent, right up until your problem gets a little messy, a little too human. And then suddenly, boom, you're trapped in an AI maze. The system was designed around the AI handling 95% of cases, which means the human support layer is now thinner, slower, and harder to reach. The company saved money on the average call, but you pay the tax in your own time and frustration when your problem isn't average.
Or how about this one? You try to make a totally routine bank transfer, but it's frozen. Why? Well, an overzealous AI fraud detector, which is busy fighting a war against incredibly sophisticated AI-powered scams, just flagged your perfectly normal activity as suspicious. You end up paying the trust tax in the form of inconvenience and, not being able to access your own money.
And think about this in the world of hiring. Candidates are using AI to juice up their resumes, and of course, employers are using AI to filter them. It creates this vicious cycle of suspicion. The truly honest candidate who doesn't play the optimization game gets left behind. It becomes this insane arms race where the cost of just signaling, hey, I'm a real capable person, just skyrockets.
Now, I know this all sounds pretty bleak, but it absolutely does not have to be. The tax is not a fate that you have to suffer. It's a dynamic that you can learn to master. The key is to completely shift your perspective. Stop seeing it as a penalty and start seeing it as an investment in a powerful, competitive moat.
So this brings us to a really critical choice. When you're faced with this new reality, there are really only two paths you can take. Over on the left, you see the penalty path. It's totally reactive, you adopt tools late, you use them to just generate more noise, more output, and you constantly feel like you're being squeezed. But on the right, you have the advantage path. This is proactive. You build a personal system, you supply that irreplaceable human judgment, and you use AI to create leverage, not just more stuff. This path feels like momentum, and learning to live on this right side of the chart is exactly what we're all about here at TNT Digital Mindset.
Here's the deepest trick, the real unlock. Stop using AI as a simple content generator. If you're just using it to produce generic fluff, you're going to pay the tax in rework and distrust every single time. Instead, you need to think of it as a compression engine for your own thinking. Use it to take your messy, complex ideas and structure them into clear, actionable, powerful plans. That is how you create real leverage.
This quote just perfectly captures the winning mindset. It is not about letting the tool lower your standards to its average. It's about forcing the tool to meet your high standards. This is really the core of the TNT Digital Mindset philosophy, using technology to amplify your unique judgment and build a defensible, durable advantage in this new economy.
So as we wrap this up, the question I want to leave you with is this. When this tax becomes fully embedded in our lives in 2026, is it going to feel like a constant drain on your energy and your resources, or will the investments you start making today turn it into the very thing that protects you from the competition? The choice really is yours.
If you want to master the digital economy, make sure to subscribe to TNT Digital Mindset. Thanks for listening.